Hello everyone and welcome to yet another recreational programming session with Mr. Zozin. So recently, not quite recently, but some time ago, I discovered this really interesting thing. You probably saw me experimenting with C3, right? And honestly, at the time when I was experimenting with this thing, I didn't know that there was a prequel to C3 apparently. So the real sequel to C is actually C2. Right, but for some reason, I only learned it, after I learned about C3. So I think it would be fair to look at C2 as well, right? Because it's kind of like a similar idea. And if I remember correctly, I think C3 was even sort of like a fork of C2, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. What I know as well is that the creator of C3 was also a contributor to C2. This is one of the things we can see in here, actually, right? So learner is here. So he was also contributing to this project, and this project. The author actually modifying the language in real time as we're streaming. I wonder if they watch this, I don't know. So I don't know what exactly happened that led to creation of C3. Maybe it's, maybe learner was not satisfied with the direction the project going and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go into that. My goal is to just look at this language in a similar way as I looked at C3 and see whether it's better, or maybe I like it better, or something like that. I just want to explore it, right? So I'm not really interested in internal politics or anything like that. I'm interested in programming languages, right? So because I'm a programming nerd, right? So anyway, let's take a look at this thing. So can I download? Apparently there is no downloading in here, right? So, and there's no releases. So I suppose you are expected to build it from the source code. Since we are nerds, we're not afraid of building things from source code, right? So let's go ahead and do that, right? So, what do we have? I'm gonna go to prob. Maybe I'm gonna go to third party because this is where I usually do things. Let's see how difficult or easy it is to just build this entire thing from scratch. There we go. So I hope there's not too many. 2,000 commits. Oh, it's already actually cloned, so everything's fine. So what do we have in here? We have install, and I suppose. Ooh, that's a lot of instructions. So you're supposed to do bin basic installation. You do bin code. Oh, you're supposed to even install it manually. Right. So to bootstrap, install C2C, the following tools are needed: GCC and make. But there's also CMake? No, there's no CMake. How do you build it exactly? Wait. Am I going crazy? So you create this thing and you just clone, but this is the... I'm confused. Am I going stupid? I don't see how to build. Where is the build Z? That would have been actually... Yo, what the fuck? I wonder if anybody actually tried to submit like a build zig to C3. In a compiler, probably in a compiler. Right, so... No! So you need to bootstrap it. Oh, and there's also bootstrap in here. Ah, oh, this is fascinating. So, yeah, so it's written in itself, apparently? I guess, what am I looking at? So the C2 programming language, this is written in C2 itself. Oh, it's written in itself. You have to literally bootstrap it. But anyway, so has anybody tried to actually build Zig? Holy shit! Oh, somebody just mentioned build.zig. Bro, imagine like going to other competing languages and submitting build.zig as an additional build. Holy, this is so goddamn unhinged. This is like a peak annoying. Like, you want to be like extra annoying. You go to the other languages and just submit it. Like, go to Odin. Right, go to Odin and submit build.zig. Holy fucking shit. Ah, that is so good. So anyway, so there are apparently several C2 compilers, right? So there is a C2 compiler, which is that, and there is C2C, native C2 compiler written in C2. Okay, so apparently I think I just have to read the documentation on how to do that. So installation. So the Bootstrap install C2C, the following tools are needed, GCC and make. I'm pretty sure I do have them. So here's GCC and here is the make, so I do have them. The fastest way to just use C2C up and running is just following the next steps. The explanation of what it does is below. I mean, I know how to read bash, right? So you do bin, then inside of the code, right, inside of the code, so you have to go to bin. So that means you have to get C2C specifically. C2C, but I don't see this thing. There is no such thing in here. Unfortunately, there is no such thing. So you just link this thing. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so then you create a code. Just code, but do you CD in there? I don't know. Then you git clone C2 libraries and then C2 compiler. You do okay, so then you do like, why do you need to do these things, right, when the code doesn't exist or anything like that? All right, so you need to do an environment and then you do make C bootstrap. So what is an environment? Okay, so you do this thing. It just sets up the environment variable C2 lib dir, so this is dirs, cc, cx, and so on and so forth. Okay, so and then you do make C bootstrap. Right, so I don't remember what is dash C. Let me take a look. So it's going to be make minus C. Aha, so you're using as a current directory bootstrap, and because of that, it's going to be using the make file from this directory. Okay, I think I'm starting to understand. It's a little bit complicated, so that means that the language is very much unfinished, right? So it's not like user-facing yet. So there's not just executables that you can download and stuff like that. You literally have to not only build, but bootstrap it yourself as well. All right, so I'm gonna skip actually setting up all of these symlinks and stuff like that because I don't see much sense. Like I want to actually set up the environment myself. I think I'm gonna be doing from here, right? So I think from here it makes a little bit more sense. Right. So, okay, so I'm gonna cd in here, and I'm gonna set up the environment. So we're entering the environment. Okay, the environment has been entered. So we are about to do the bootstrap. So I actually first want to look at what makefile is doing. So what it's doing is just trying to compile this thing, right? And to compile this thing, it needs to first build bootstrap. And to build bootstrap, it has this C. Then it compiles the C code, the C file, right? And then it uses bootstrap to build itself. So I suspect what it is a C2 compiler written in C, but it's probably not just written, it's translated. One of the, so I have a hypothesis that one of the targets that C2 supports is C, and it's doing pretty much like a similar thing that I did in Porth. You guys remember that? So I can actually do GitLab, I think it's still on gitlab.com, sodding Porth. Let's actually take a look at that. So there's a bootstrap folder in here, and the main target of Porth is actually Wasm. So I translated Porth to Wasm, and you compile that, actually just translate, right, because it's already compiled, and you have a Porth compiler, and then you compile Porth with itself. So I suspect this is a kind of a similar trick, right? It's kind of a similar trick. Let me actually put Porth in the description for anyone who's interested. Porth is not really useful language by itself. It was just like my experiment. Right, so I'm going to put it in here. So it was a kind of a cool experiment, right? Experiment at building thing, you know, in itself, right? Because I've never done that before. I never had an opportunity to do that. So I just decided to do that because I can. Anyway, so I think that's understandable. So let's actually try to bootstrap the whole thing, right? So compiling bootstrap compiler. Okay, so no, cannot find library DL. Don't I have it? That is bizarre. So let's take a look what's going on. Let's try to troubleshoot that. So it said running this thing. and it couldn't find anything, even though we managed to build this entire thing, right? And it had DL, right? It actually had DL. So let me see. So there should be in the Bootstrap C2, right? If I do LDD, so here is the C2 compiler, and it doesn't really depend on LDL per se, even though we explicitly compiled it with LDL. But here is the Bootstrap compiler. Cannot find plugin depth generator, cannot find plugin refs generator. So maybe I forgot something. Maybe I should have. Aha. So you, on top of that, you also need libs. I think I completely forgot about that. Right. I think I completely forgot about that. So maybe I have to clone both of these things. Right. So let's actually try to clone both of these things. So this is another project in here. C2 libs. Libraries for C2. Right. So 2 months ago. It's not that, like, you know, long time ago, honestly. Right. So I can see that the author works in this language for like on and off. Right, so they work on it on and off. All right, so first of all, I think the process should be a little bit easier, or the author should at least provide the binaries that you can just like grab and use, like C3 does. I think for a project, it's kind of important, even if it's unfinished, it's kind of important for people who are just trying to explore to be able to just grab something and play with it before they go into deep into the source code. Oh, it was looking for DL for the Bootstrap thing. Yeah. So the Bootstrap thing itself knew the DL, but then it couldn't find it for whatever reason. Maybe because it needed the libraries, maybe because it needed something else. I don't really know. Right, so let's actually try to git clone the libraries itself. Right, so these kind of libraries. So here they are. And I'm going to assume that it kind of expects them like a nearby. Right, do I understand correctly? I think that's what it wants. So there's also code C2 compiler. So this is just outputs, right? So because it doesn't have installation. So we create code and inside. So I suppose what's skipped in here is CD code. I think that's what's skipped in here. I'm going to just assume that. So that means they basically have to be in the sort of like in the same folder or whatever, right? So let's give it a try. So I already cloned the C2, so C2 compiler, right? So here's the C2 compiler. I'm gonna set up the environment one more time, and I'm gonna try to bootstrap this thing one more time. So I think I was right. Yeah. Okay, let's go. So it wanted to have libraries at the level higher, right? So you need to clone both of the repos, then it goes like upwards. So maybe it's even written in makefile. Nah, it's not obvious. I think it's something that is doing like implicitly. And it built everything, apparently. Okay, so it built everything. So now what's going to be the next thing? The next thing is to install plugins, right? So we're installing plugins. So what are we doing here? So we copy into the plug dir. So it first creates the plug dir and then just does all of the plugin things. So you libgit version. Oh, you can extend the compiler with additional things, with additional DLLs. What the fuck? Did you try C4? We need to create like a counter command just to count how many times a C4 joke was made. Compiler DLS, yeah. So this is basically a compiler DLS. So C2 plugin, I suppose, is actually set up in the environment, right? So it is at the home C2 plugins. Okay, so but what if I don't want to install them right away, right? So there's a dependency generator. I don't like dependencies, so I think I'm not going to install that plugin. Git version, I'm not going to be doing Git or anything like that. Load file. I mean, I load files quite often all the time. Do you really need like a DLC for that? But I mean, I don't really know what it means. Maybe it means load file at compile time to bake it to embed it or something like that. So also reference generator, shell you can run shell commands from this. Unit tests also kind of cool. All right, so I can see what's going on in here. But anyway, so I'm not going to install any plugins yet. And then you just do C to C, right? I suppose, C2C, and then you also have tester, and so on and so forth. All right, so what that implies that the output now have C2C folder, right? So it actually has bin or output C2C. All right, so it just started building things. Oh yeah, so it wants the plugins and stuff like that. So it builded things, but without the plugins and everything. It builded things. Honestly, like, why don't you just put that into a shell script? Like, for real. Why are you forcing the user to do the job that the build system is supposed to do? Like, this is literally a job for a build system. We created build systems specifically to do that. Like, come on. Seriously. It's just like, and you use build system, you use make files, right? So you have make files and stuff like that. So you use build system. Like, why are you doing that? It's a filter for stupid users. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's the reason, right? In that case, I respect the hustle, right? So it's just like you have to prove that you're worthy to use this compiler, but following. Okay. Challenge accepted, I guess. Challenge accepted. So let's fucking install the plugins and stuff, right? So I didn't even print anything. So one of the things I would suggest for this specific script is to enable tracing, right? So because it's kind of difficult to see, so it didn't do anything. Like, I know that there is a conventional wisdom in Unix that if the command is successful, it shouldn't print anything. But that conventional wisdom comes from the times when we had teletypes that printed on a paper, so we can save a little bit of a paper. These days, we don't print things on the paper, right? So we can shed out as much as possible without wasting too much wood. So I think it makes sense to actually trace everything. So essentially you do set X, right? And once you run this thing, it just prints each individual command that it executed. It's actually really useful, and I use it all the time. Right, so I think more people should start, enabling tracing. Sometimes it could be kind of noisy, right? Sometimes it could be kind of noisy, but for simple scripts like this is actually really useful, I think. So because at least I want to see that you created a new folder in my home folder. At least tell me that you came literally to my home and you started moving furniture. I want to at least know about that. Right, let alone, like, I want to be asked a permission to fucking do that, but okay, if you don't need a permission, at least tell me that you're doing that. So, anyways, so here are the plugins, right? So here are the plugins and stuff like that, and I suppose, right, so now if I do something like C2C, yeah, so building C2C, now it doesn't complain about the lack of plugins, right? So which is kind of cool, right? I appreciate that as well. Yes, so and it's just building all of them, right? So all of the plugins are found, everything is found. We can even load files, we can even run shell commands. That's amazing. Honestly, to be fair, so far I didn't encounter any problems. Right, the only problems I encountered so far are the ones because I didn't follow instructions, which is fair, right? So I was given instructions and I didn't follow them. I had problems. I followed them. I don't have any problems. So far, everything is good. It's kind of annoying, but our hypothesis so far is that it's a gatekeeping, right? So it's to basically, protect from stupid people, right? So, okay, fair enough. So we also are expected to symlink these two executables to where we have a path. Where do I have a path, by the way? Do I have like a bin or anything? So there's a local bin in here. Can I just symlink there at least? Right, so what do I have in there, by the way? I have there something from Python, which is understandable. So let's actually symlink there specifically. Right, where is ln? So it has to be target. Target comes first. Okay, so ln s pwd So output C2C, I'm sorry, reflexes, C2C. And we're gonna go to the home / local bin. Right, so do I have to, yeah, so let's actually do C2C. There we go. Let me do, yeah, fail to create file exist. Okay, so that's fair. And the second thing you want to have in here is actually C tags. C2 tags, and let's do, can you see what I'm doing? C2 tags, like so. Yeah, there we go. So if you take a look at home local bin, so here they are. So that means I can now do C2C just like that. It's going to rebuild it again. It basically rebuilds it every time I run it. So I suppose it searches for something within the folder. Ah, look at that. So build recipes in YAML. I think C3C does something similar with JSON. I think I know why Lerner started his own language. He's a JSON guy, and this is a war between YAML people and JSON. I'm joking, I don't really know what was the reason. But if that's the reason, that would be funny. So imagine them having an argument. Like, I know JSON, no YAML is bad, no JSON's bad, I'm gonna start my own compiler. And this is how C3 was born. I'm joking, but I don't know, right? But that would be kind of funny if it was the reason. Where build Zig? I don't know. Who needs build Zig if you have a freaking YAML, broskies? Like, who needs Zig if you have YAML? YAML is better than Zig, I'm telling you. It's even more readable. So anyways, we've got the compiler. How about that? So 20 minutes in, and we got a C2 compiler. That is amazing, I think. This is absolutely amazing. So did we prove that we're worthy of using this compiler? Did we prove that we're worthy? I think we're worthy. So, is there any like tutorials or anything like that? So IR examples. Okay, so what I'm gonna do probe, and we're gonna do C2 hello world. Right. So I'm gonna just create something. Main C2. I'm gonna create an empty file, and if I just try to run C2C from a folder with a file, okay. So cannot find C2 root dir. C2 requires recipe.txt in the project too, but wasn't it recipe YAML? Okay, so what we're doing right now, we're doing like an empty file test. TXT, not YAML, but I thought it was YAML. Maybe it supports both. I have hypotheses. Okay, so we have two hypotheses. It either was historically TXT, but then they forgot to update the error message, or it supports both. Which one do you think it is? Which one do you think it is? Right, so we need to place a bet. So let's actually see, just a second. Manage predictions, okay. So start a prediction, okay, first try. That's the name. Okay, so what happened with the error message? They forgot to update it. It supports both TXT and YAML. TXT and okay, whatever. Start prediction. So submission period like 30 seconds. Okay, start prediction. The streamer or mod will need to confirm the outcome within 24 hours and okay, whatever. So we're starting the prediction and I'm gonna just go and explore what it is, right? So let's fucking go. Now, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna wait a little bit, right? So let's actually wait until the prediction is done. So it's gonna be 30 seconds, and yeah, we'll see what's the reason, right? I don't want to go into that yet, right? Because maybe it's gonna be too much spoilery, right? Maybe it's gonna be too much spoilery. Choose prediction. Okay. So They forgot to update. Okay, you really guys think right that they forgot to update it? Okay, so all right. So I'm gonna just try to create recipe txt, well, not folder, but just touch recipe txt. Right, I'm gonna try to run it one more time. Actually, it supports both, as you can see. I think it just supports both. Right, so and if I remove it YAML, right, so now it needs txt actually. Right, it actually needs txt, so that means it doesn't support, but what was about YAML? That's so bizarre. So let me go to third-party C2 compiler. Does it have recipe? Ah! Okay, it was C2 recipe txt. Right, so C2 YAML, and if I try to build it, okay, so you need to have both actually. Like one is not enough, either C2 recipe YAML or recipe txt. You need to have both of them. Okay, I suppose, right, choose the outcome. The outcome was it supports both actually. Choose outcome, it supports both txt YAML, yeah. Yeah. So did that do anything? Did that do anything? Did that give you like points or anything? So like I don't use Twitch. I know nothing about Twitch. I know that on Twitch there's some sort of like a gambling. It's not gambling, but I mean some sort of a game element. Right? So it gives people points. Okay, so it supports both, and it's not only supports both. It demands both apparently. Well, I mean at least recipe txt, whatever. I don't care. Twitch recipe txt, so that's what you're supposed to have in here. Then you have to do c2 lib or whatever. All right, so far nothing really happened. This is just a warning, so it's not mandatory to have this library thingy majingi, right? It is not mandatory to do that. So what I'm thinking is that like we need to put something in a recipe. I predict, this is going to be my hypothesis, right? So I'm not reading documentation or anything like that. I want to actually like understand how intuitive it is. You just put a name in here. So I just put main C2 in here and it will just build it. No, it has a very specific syntax. Bro, if you're expecting me to follow some sort of a syntax, maybe don't call this file txt. Txt implies there's no syntax. Bro. Anyways, okay, so third-party C2 compiler. Let's take a look at some examples. Oh, it's like, why do you call it txt? Why? All right, so I have another interesting idea. What if I provide the file? What if I just do C2C main C2? Okay, so do you have any subcommands or anything like that? So the option target, so yeah, I don't fucking see anything. Like apparently you are required to have additional recipe to just build even the simplest of hello worlds. -f, people say -f. Only parse a single file, but it's parsing. So there's also help recipe. Okay, so we can look into that. So we can try to do something like help main.c, building dummy. I tried a lot of languages. But this is the first language that called me dummy. Anyway, so let's take a look. Help recipe. C2 dev DDoSed us, yes. The goddess, the fucking goddess, C2 devs goddess. So we have to be careful while criticizing this language. Let's not criticize it too much. right? So because the C2 devs are after us. All right, like always. I'm sorry, I have to work under very difficult conditions these days, okay? So please bear with me. So get used to, like, you know, the stream cutting off and stuff like that. So anyways, right, so this is what we have to do in here. So there's a executable, okay, so it's that simple. So I say executable and just that. Okay, so recipe txt. This is gonna be hello. I don't really care about any of this scheiße, and I want to just say, okay, main C2. Can I do something like that? Building hello, no backend for target hello was defined. Okay, so let's take a look at what kind of target. So target, so backend, right? So backend, it supports QBE, bro! Bro, it supports, holy shit! Do you guys know what is a QBE? Oh my god, this is a plus. Right, so this is a plus in my book. So it's a compiler backend. We looked into that. It's this shit. It's fucking alright. We're fucking going. And you know, a cool thing about this language is that supports several backends. I don't know how many backends C3 supports. The only backend I've seen so far is LLVM. The fact that C2 is trying to diversify their assets. I feel dirty even saying that applied to languages, but that's basically the perception of languages these days, right? Everyone sees the languages as sort of like a cryptocurrencies, right? So the fact that the creators of this language diversifying their portfolio of backends is actually a very good thing. You don't really want to depend too much on one backend. It's very dangerous. Diversifying the assets. Okay, so and we even like looked into QBE in one of the streams, and I think another like a famous language that uses QBE is Hair, right? So we also streamed Hair. The state of web dev in 2024, everyone. I wanted to just find the stream, but yes, YouTube is. I forgot. It's the state of modern Russia. Okay, whatever. So anyway, so we need to set up the backend, right? So just look, Sodin QBE and Sodin Hair, right? So yeah, so it's gonna be backend C. So we're gonna actually compile to C as of right now. So I don't want to mess with QBE. I think I will have to install it, right? Because it will probably generate the textual representation of QBE, and I will need to have the QBE executable. I wonder if Void has it, right? XBPS query QBE. Oh, it has it actually. So just as wait, I can actually install QBE. What the fuck, bruvskis? Bruvskis, what the fuck? I can do XBSC install SU QBE. All right, let's fucking go. Yeah, look that. Look at fucking that. So that means I can do something like QBE. And here's the QBE. It's probably waiting for the input. So that means I can actually use QBE backend. All right, so let's actually try it. I'm not sure if it's gonna work first try, but we're gonna try it. Let's fucking go. So building QBE cannot find library libc. That is very interesting. This is probably because of this, right? So we didn't set up the variable. So I suspect that the way you set up this variable is by using the environment.sh thing, right? So I think this is my hypothesis as well. So environment.sh, here it is. Okay, so yeah, here they are. It's the second folder and stuff. What that means is that we probably want to run everything from this environment, right? Where we did dot and stuff like that. That's probably what we have to do. Okay, so let's actually try to do that. I'm gonna do prob, right, so I'm gonna go to C2 hello world, C2C, and I'm gonna try to run it. Okay, look at that. So now it expects a module, right? Okay, so that's pretty cool. We're gonna be compiling from that environment. So module, I'm gonna expect that maybe in module, I'm gonna set the C3 mode in here. All right, so this is gonna be main module. Okay. Module name main is reserved. Okay. Hello. No main function. So let me take a look at C2. Is there any examples on how it's supposed to look like? Is there any examples on how it's supposed to look like, documentation? Right. Okay, so I'm gonna just try to do this kind of thing. So argc char argv, right? If I define something like this, will I be able to compile this entire thing? Okay, expected semicolon. Is it the same as in C3? All right, unknown type integer. How are you supposed to be an evolution on C? I think I'm starting to understand the sort of the conflict between C2 and C3. As far as I can remember, in C3, int and char are just basically aliases to i32 and u8 and so on and so forth, because I think C3 does support like i32 or maybe like u32 or whatever, right? But they are aliased to equivalent types in C to make the transition for C developers a little bit easier. I suppose C2 developers didn't want to do that. Right, so this is like, now I'm starting to see like interesting differences in here. So this has to be i32, some people told me in the chat. Right, okay. What if I just don't provide anything in here, right? So because I suspect that the arguments are kind of ass. Main function should be declared public. Do I just put public in here, or is that what you want? Okay. And I have output. And folder, hello, hello, not bad. And look at that. So let's take a look at QBE. Here is the, okay, here's the generated QBE backend. So main QBE, right? So let's cut this thing. It just literally generates QBE, right? So can we, like, how do you do a hello world in here? So there's also philosophy and stuff like that. Let's take a look at the philosophy. Design goals. So what's the philosophy of this language? This philosophy leads to the following design goals. High development speed. Very cool. Same, better speed of execution. Like C, I suppose, right? So the C programming language has been around for a long time and is still used in a lot nowadays. It is foundational. Its foundations are very solid, but other aspects are showing their age. C2 attempts to modernize these parts while keeping the feel of C. It should be seen as the evolution of C, right? Okay. So same, better execution of C, I suppose. Better compilation times. Okay, that's also respectable. Integrated build system. Yes, I can see that it has a build system in the form of TXT file with the syntax. Stricter syntax, easier for tooling. Okay, great tooling, formatting tools, graphical refactoring, and stuff like that. Easy integration with C libraries, should be easy to learn for C programmers, should be help to avoid common mistakes. Okay, pretty much the same as C3. Right. So I want to see a hello world. Okay. Okay. C3 should just allow you to do that. C3 should just allow you to alias your imports, honestly. This is one of the annoying aspects of C3. So in C3, you would import, for example, Raylib, and now you're freaking forced to, you know, prefix Raylib like every time you call the Raylib function. This is insanely annoying. Like one of the things I want to do sometimes is just say as r, so I at least can prefix with a single letter or something like that. Right, it's just like, come on, like this is actually kind of cool, right? Being able to alias the modules, I think, is like kind of important if you're mandating to right, to prefixing it all the time. Learner is super opposed to importing with the name choices. Learner is an authoritarian language developer. What can I say? I mean, but it's his language. He can do whatever you want. And I'm saying just my personal opinion. I just might say my personal opinion. Okay, so here's the IO, printf, and let's do a hello world. Right, so this is how we do hello world. Okay, so I'm gonna try to build this entire thing. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do the thing here. Okay, so can I run from here, or do I have to literally do it like that? How many minutes in? Like almost an hour in, and we have our first hello world. How about fucking that? How about fucking that? Easy, easy, easy. Honestly, it's a little bit of an ass. Setting up this language is a little bit of an ass. There's a lot of instructions that you have to follow that should have been just a single script, like using proper build system and stuff like that. But we didn't stuck anywhere, did we? Right, we just followed the instructions, and the instructions did exactly what will happen. Right, so there was no unexpected things. Everything works. It's kind of like not user-friendly, but it works. Right, and again, I think in chat somebody said a very interesting hypothesis. Maybe it is intentional to sort of like scare away normies until the language is finished. Something like that. So it's some sort of a filter. It does feel like some sort of a filter. Right, so because I can see that filtering out normies quite effectively, right? So, okay. I'm gonna just like use that hypothesis. So inconvenience is specifically a filter. So far, everything supports that hypothesis. The great filter, yeah. WS in C2 when? This is a good question. You can compile to C, right? So we can even set the C backend, right? So let's actually do recipe. So you can just do C. We can just try to recompile this entire thing, C to C. And if I take a look at the output in here, so, okay, so here's the cgen, right, let's go into the cgen folder. And here is the C code that was generated, right? So let's take a look at this entire thing. And yeah, so you can just take this file and compile it to WebAssembly with Clang or something. At least try to. So what does it depend on? Does it include anything? It doesn't even include anything. But it actually kind of forwards declares some of the things probably from the libc. So, I mean, one of the things you can do, you can just like partially implement, you know, libc interface or something like that. So I want to try an interesting thing. So probe C2 hello world. Can I just build whatever was generated in here? So for instance, I can do clang o hello hello output hello cgen, and here we have just a build.c. Can I just build that? I just built that and it just worked. So this thing is self-contained and just buildable. It is just buildable. So that means I can say something like a target wasm 32 or something like that. So yeah, we may try to build with the flags that I used in Olive-C, right? So I have a project called Olive-C, and this is just like a graphical library in C that is compilable to WebAssembly. And it uses Clang to compile to WebAssembly and stuff like that. So let me actually find it. Let me put that in the description. So I don't remember how we even did that. So we use a no build script, right? So we're building with C. And there should be something about Wasm in there. So building Wasm demo. So this is how you build a Wasm demo. So there's a huge, like a command line. I want to copy paste it into Emacs and clean it up a little bit, right? So I'm going to be cleaning it up. Can we just, so this is the common flags. This is not that interesting. Yeah, and one of the things we can do, we can query replace quote, comma, space, quote, right? The things between those things, and we can just basically remove all of that stuff. Right, and there we go. We kind of cleaned it up, but I would like to replace it with just space, like so. All right, so there is a demos and stuff like that. So here's the bunch of flags that we need. Right, so here's the bunch of flags. We need to enable fno built-in, so to disable all the built-in optimization, stuff like that. Target wasm, no standard library, and a bunch of things for the linker, right? So no entry, a bunch of exports. We're probably going to modify the exports, and we also should allow undefined functions, right? Because we're not going to link with libc, but the code depends on libc, so we should allow to have something undefined, right? So this is the flags that we kind of need to compile it to WebAssembly, right? So and in here, right? So even though, yeah, so we tried to build this entire thing. Let me compose now the command line that could have been useful to build the WebAssembly module, right? So we can try to do that. So here is that. I'm gonna just remove that, and this is going to be the flags that we're gonna be using. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that. All right, and what did it create? It created just a hello, but I think I did a little bit of a fucky-wucky. I think I should have just called it Wasm. Right, so let's quickly do that. There we go. So now we have hello Wasm, and if I take a look at what it is a WebAssembly module. So we can now do Wasm to what, right, Wasm to what, and it actually got optimized away. Fascinating. So yeah, because we didn't try to export, I think, main, right? So yeah, so it just like it saw that we didn't call anything and it optimized out everything. The way we do that, we actually say, okay, we're gonna export main function, right? So let's actually export the main function. And if I take a look at the output of this entire thing, so the output, hello, cgen, build C, what's the, yeah, so here's the main, right? So, and it seems to be working. Right, so let's try to recompile it one more time, right? And the size of Wasm is already bigger, as you can see. So we can do Wasm to what, right, Wasm to what. And we have a main function. Okay, that's pretty cool. We have a main function that calls to original. It does the local, but it also stores the hello world string. We just compiled C2 to Wasm without this thing explicitly supporting. So this is what you can do, right? So I think adding explicit support for Wasm is not that difficult, right? If the cgen, if cgen uses Clang internally, does it use Clang internally? I don't even know what it uses internally, but if it does, it's actually super easy to get support for that, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. So that means I already can rewrite coil in C2, for instance. So at least the installation needs. So C2 target Wasm. I don't really know. Does it even have a target word? Right. So C2C help. It doesn't even have a okay. Show available targets and recipes. Targets. All right. So okay. Targets in the sense of, okay, I see. Right. Targets in the sense of like whatever we're building. But anyway, so let's not go into the WebAssembly, right? It is technically possible because how the compiler works is so transparent, right? So since it's very transparent how it works, it's very easy to just compile this thing to WebAssembly because this is our compiled program in C. And stuff like that. And also we support QBE, and a hello world in QBE looks like this. Nothing particularly special. Right. So we have a setup where we can do things. Do you guys know what that means? Man, we gotta do that. We gotta do that. So, like, this is the ultimate test of usefulness of a language. Seriously, it's an ultimate test. Can you run Raylib from that language? Okay, that means the language is useful. All right, let's fucking go. Let's fucking download Raylib. Speed running the Raylib. Right. Should be really straightforward. I really like that you can just look up the syntax of this thing from here. So help recipe, something like this, right? So does it have linking? So here's the warnings. I don't care about that. Plugins, use. Oh, you can just. This is cool. You can just say, okay, use this library, dynamic or static. All right, so that's pretty cool. And here is another sort of target that you can build. It's a library itself. You can just build a bunch of libraries and stuff like that. There's also config. I have no idea what the fuck is that. And I suppose plugin is you building plugin as a target, maybe. I don't fucking know. Anyways, so let's actually download that. Okay, so wget, boom, let's go. All right, so I'm gonna unpack this thing. It's not a lot to unpack. One of the things I want to try, I want to just say like use, right? So let me see. So help recipe, was it use? Yeah, use library name. Can I just put Raylib static in there? So what is it going to say, right? I don't know how to use this thing yet. That's why I just put Raylib in there, and I just want to see how it's going to complain. So let's go ahead and try to do that. C2C. So cannot find library Raylib. That didn't tell me much. Okay, so one thing I can try to do is to maybe give the like actual path to this library and say link, just freaking link. So let's do recipe txt. Right, so and the name of this thing is that, like so. Cool. So now I'm gonna try to do that one more time. Cannot find library. Maybe I should have actually put slashes in here. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do that. Unexpected dot. So this is not how you do that. This is not how we do that. One of the things we can do, so here is another hypothesis that I have. I just say Raylib, static, but then I need to provide the library path, right? So probably searching for C2 library, maybe. So let me take a look. So in third party C2 libs. Aha. So and in here's the curses. Really? Is that how you must do that? I don't want to do that. Honestly, I don't want to do that. So it okay. Okay. That is annoying. There's SDL2, but I mean SDL2 sucks. Raylib is better. Raylib is much better in my opinion. But honestly, this is just that. Maybe we can create our own thing. Majing. So kinds dynamic lib modules SDL. And here is the flags. So are they parsed by C2? Or it's just a documentation? Is this for documentation? I think it's for documentation purposes. Right. I want to just do that from the project. I don't want to go anywhere. I just don't want to go anywhere. I think it's stupid. No, okay. So something for reference. Why do you give me that? Really? Why did you give me that? I know how to do that. The problem is that I don't like the way it's done. So how can we even try to approach that? Maybe I need to make a small break, chat. I think I need to make a small break. I need to make a cup of tea, and after I make a cup of tea, we're gonna try to do the Raylib linking. Like if I have to go through their bureaucratic process of creating a module within the C2 libs folder, that kind of sucks. Honestly, that kind of sucks. I just want to be able to do that like in C, right? Because it's so easy. You just copy paste it there and it works. Maybe I can have like local C2 libraries things, right? So C2 libs, right? And maybe I can have my local one where I have a bunch of these things in there, or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But in any case, let's make some break, and we're back. So let's see what we can do. I wonder if we can just start with maybe trying SDL. Right, let's actually go ahead and try SDL. So does just whatever comes with the compiler work, right? So this is SDL2, and I'm gonna just try to build the whole thing. Right, so C2, yeah, it cannot find Raylib. Let's find the recipe, and let's remove it. Let's straight up remove it. Okay, so unknown module SDL2. So that means I want to do SDL2 static. There we go. Unknown module SDL2. Very cool. So you can't just use that. Even though you said you link name SDL2, maybe I have to actually capitalize that. Okay, so it didn't work. That's very cool. So that means I have to go and look into the examples, apparently. Okay. Bro. So backend C. Is there some examples maybe in the C compiler itself? Examples. So there's a AR examples. Hello world. There's no examples in here either. The most obvious thing, I just tried and it simply didn't fucking work. How great. Okay, so development contributing in environments. So hello world, code fragments, changes from C, formatting, keywords, don't care. Build system, recipe file, don't care. Global options, target, build file, C2 module, external library, finally. External libraries. Too much text, honestly, bruv. Too much text. Don't want to be reading all of that. Really don't fucking care. So import C2 local. Don't example. Is there just example that just demonstrate like how to use that? Don't want to be reading all of that. Any other stuff? C2 lang. I am arrogant like that, by the way. I am arrogant like that. If it's just not obvious how to use the thing, I don't like it. Sorry, I don't want to be... Honestly, when you tell a person who just want to use a thing, just go read the wall of text, you effectively telling them, go fuck yourself. It's a form of a go fuck yourself, right? Just give them example that demonstrate how to do thing, and that's much better than any documentation, right? So because people are not stupid, just demonstrate them how to do the thing. Don't tell them to go fuck themselves with a wall of text. Nobody likes that. It's kind of rude. So yeah, okay, so there's some examples. Okay, let's take a look at the examples. So JSON parser, logger, socket, pthread. Okay, so this one is interesting. So pthread C2, but there's no recipe, by the way. There is no recipe. Okay, so I don't really know. Is there any example with the recipe that uses SDL2 that demonstrates how do I link with SDL2? Right, how do I link with the SDL2? I don't know. So documentation, data structures, examples, Clang. Maybe there's something with the library itself, C2 libs. Maybe, okay, so here is the README. The README doesn't demonstrate how to work with those things, right? So environment variables and stuff like that. So SDL2, manifest, language C, link name, dependencies, libc. Oh, it's just SDL. Oh my god, bro, are you serious? The library called is SDL2, but then the link name is called... Are you serious, my friend? Is that the reason? Is that the actual fucking... You serious? You really did that shit to me. I'm disappointed, right? If that's the reason, I'm gonna go fucking ballistic, honestly. If it's as stupid as that, I'm gonna go fucking ballistic. Because that's a huge waste of time. That's a huge waste of time. Anyways, so I'm gonna try to build this thing. Are you serious? How do I build this DL2? Bro, how do I build this DL2? This is so bad. Oh my god, it's so fucking bad. Like, how do I do that? Link name SDL2 module SDL. There's an example, I don't fucking see it. Where is it? Why is it not obvious? Like, for fuck's sake, bro, this is so bad. It's not obvious. SDL2. There's no example for SDL2. Like, don't fucking tell me that I'm just doing it wrong. No, I'm not doing it wrong. Like, very often I open the language and it's obvious how to do things. I open this language, it's not fucking obvious. It's hidden somewhere. It's fucking hidden somewhere. Why did you call it graphics? Why did you call it graphics? And it's only the only things in the... Bro, this is so bad. Like, why did you put it in a separate folder when there's only one thing there that is SDL? Call it SDL. It's much easier to just like look. I'm disappointed. Like, don't do that. Don't do that to the users. Is DL2... Okay, why didn't work then? Why didn't work then? Like, I did this DL2 dynamic. I already did that. As DL2 dynamic, but then... Is that what it has to be? Undefined identifier. Yeah. Bro, this is bad. Like, one thing SDL2, SDL, and now you're... I hate it. I hate this aspect. Right, don't do that. Don't do that to the users. Anyways, so what do we have in here? So it's a classical SDL, so we have to now import this thing. Like, maybe it's also part of the grade filter. Right, maybe this is also part of the grade filter. So I don't fucking know. So anyways, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go to third party SDL2. So I just want to see what kind of functions we have in there. So init, so there's a SDL init. So I have to call SDL init, right? And I have to specify the flags. And I suppose I want to init specifically video, right? So that's the thing that we want to initialize in here. Right, so now if I try to build the whole thing, I also have to prefix it with SDL init video, right? There we go. So we built something. I wonder if we can, you know, run. Can I run this thing right away? I don't see that I can run it. So that means after I build it, I always have to do something like this. Okay, that's understandable. All right. So here we do SDL quit as well. All right. So then I just build the entire thing. Okay, that seems to be working. So create window and you didn't provide end renderer. There's one cool thing in SDL is that you can actually create window and renderer, if I remember correctly. So SDL. Right, so I think it's something like video. Create window and... Oh, no, it's a... Where is it then? Create window and... Yeah, so this one. So you can just create window and the renderer simultaneously. Right, so I think like it would be nice to have something like that. And renderer, nah, it's not there. Okay, so let's just create a window then. Let's just create a window. Let's fucking go. So main C2. So maybe I'm gonna do C3 mode, right? So it has a little bit of a highlighting in here. SDL create window. Let's do hello from C2. I don't know, right? So we can specify the position. Okay, so let's set it to 0, 0, and also width and height. 800 by 600, right? So it's going to be 600. And there were some flags. I don't quite remember what the flags were. I think we can say just like a window. I don't think we need any of that. So I feel like you do OpenGL if you want to work with OpenGL directly. I think that's the only reason why you put OpenGL in here. So we don't really want to work with OpenGL directly. I think we can just put a 0 in here. Right, and that should just create a window like this. Right, so we have a window now. If I try to compile the whole thing, okay, so unknown window is probably part of the type in here. And okay, so this is another interesting thing. So in C3, resizable, yeah, resizable actually sounds like a cool idea to have resizable. So let's actually go there and we can put this thing in here. Is it going to do that? Yeah, so it seems to be working. So this is one of the things that differ from C3, I suppose, is that in C3 you don't have to prefix the type specifically. So far, differences between C2 and C3 feel purely opinionated. It's just like it's just like two opinions kind of collided with each other and diverged from each other. But again, I don't know what exactly happened between these two languages. It just feels like specific bike shading details. People were not happy with them. Okay, so we managed to create a window. I wonder if I try to just run. I heard flicker. You probably didn't see that because probably it was not picked up, but there was a flicker, so the window was actually created in here. Maybe if I don't make it resizable. All right. So we don't see flicker. Let's make it resizable. Okay, so the second thing that you have to do after you created the window, you have to create a renderer, right? So otherwise you won't be able to render things. So this is how we're going to be creating it. I'm going to copy paste the whole thing in here. SDL renderer, and maybe I have to do it like that. Actually, renderer. So this is it's actually it supports methods like in C3. So it has methods. Okay. Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting. So, and what I do in here is just a window, create window, and I suppose I don't have to provide that because it's a method. And index, if I remember correctly, index is an index of the driver that you want to do. So 0, you put 0 for a default one, but I don't quite remember 100%. So, okay, so you haven't, you define types through a keyword type. This is actually something that I really like. This is something that it's a -1. Yeah, thank you so much. So this is something that I like even from Go, because I think Go does a similar thing, right? So if you define a new type, it always starts with the type. It's a good for grabbing, exactly. You know it. I really fucking like this kind of stuff. That helps with grabbing. One of the problems that I have with C3 is that there's too many ways to define a type, and if you don't know the kind of type, it's very difficult to grab where it is defined. You know what I'm talking about? Right, so by a kind of type, what I mean is that a struct? Is that a enum? Is that something else? What if I don't care? What if I don't care about specific kind of type? I just want to find the type. What I can do is I can always just grab recursively and stuff like that. Find me a type player, and I don't care, it's a structure, it doesn't fucking matter. Find me where the type is defined. So, and obviously you may have several spaces in here. In that case, you say that there could be several of them. So I really like these kind of syntactical decisions. The problem with C3 is just like too many ways to define types. It makes it difficult to grab, and I actually experienced that, and it was on camera, right? It was on camera that I had some problems grabbing specific types in C3. So this is something that I really like, right? So speaking about bike shading, about syntaxes. Okay, so I wonder, how do you do enumerations, right? So I suppose this is a render flags and you put them in there, but the type of this flags is not enumeration. Wait a second. You just assign those things. So it doesn't do that stupid thing with C3 where it associates values with enumerations, but they're separate from their internal values. It doesn't do that. It works like it has normal, I can't believe that. I can't fucking believe it. It has a normal enumerations. Holy shit. This is a game changer. Imagine C3 with normal enumerations. Why do you need C3 if you have C2 with normal enumerations? Like, the human enumerations that work in a human way. Because whatever the fuck is happening in C3 is insanity. I have no idea what the fuck is happening with C3, honestly. So we can take a look at that. So it has associated values or something. Let me see. Like, I couldn't understand what the fuck was that and why it was implemented this way. Associated values. It's such a bizarre idea, right? So essentially, you do something like that, and then you associate a value. So associate strings with each individual thing, but it's actually different from its internal value, right? So I can actually fucking show. I think I can show you. So yeah, because I'm very much against this idea. This is dumb, honest. I'm sorry, nothing personal, but I just don't like this idea. So you can have something like that, right? So value, so you have 69 for 20 and something like this, right? So we can import stdio and fn void main, something like that, io printf, and then I can do state waiting value. To get an access to associated value, you do dot value. But then another thing that you can do, you can cast this thing to that. So, and then you can do C3 compile run main C3. Am I being weird or this is insanity? Please tell me that it's just me who's wrong. I don't understand this. Like it actually defies so many expectations. Like I understand where he's going for with this thing. Like I understand. But the way it's executed is kind of dangerous because again, it defies a lot of expectations about the languages, right? So, and it's supposed to be kind of semantically compatible with C. So it's supposed to be something where C programmers can jump into and start working, but it defines every expectations of a C programmer. And I honestly really like this idea of associating range, enumeration ranges with arrays of values and stuff like that. It's a good idea, but the way it is implemented, it's very easy to confuse these things. It's just, I just don't understand it. Like nothing personal, I just don't understand this idea. I think it just defies too many expectations and creates more problem than solves. Why casting results in 0? Because value and actual internal representation value are different things. That's why. Because they are different things. It is so unexpected. I just don't understand it. Honestly, I just don't understand it. So I suppose it's only a game. Why do you have to be there? Okay. So yeah, I suppose C2 just does enumerations normally. Right, so I'm gonna assume that. I'm gonna assume that it does them normally. Can't you just change the internal value? What the fuck? I don't know. I don't know what's up. Maybe you can. But it's just like, I spend some time, I think I didn't actually. I think I coded that relatively early, right? It's just weird. It's just weird. Maybe I just have to get used to that. I don't fucking know. But again, kind of the point of C2 and C3 is just like you don't have to get used to too many things as a C developer. So I don't know. I don't like it. I personally don't like it. Maybe I just don't understand. Anyways. So, and I suppose they are working a normal way. And we don't put this type in here because this is a mask that we can combine several render flags, right? So that's basically what's going on in here. So, and this is going to be hardware accelerated. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, did I already remove this thing? I think I already removed this thing. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think in C2, you can't simply assign string, right? But you can probably do this kind of stuff. So where is that? So you just do enum. Yeah, so it's syntactically different. So, and then enum, it has to be I32, and this one, it probably doesn't even have anything like that, right? So it's going to 420, and this one is going to be something like this. And I'm going to maybe comment it out and IO printf. So, and well, there's no way to get a value, right? So it's going to be just like a normal thing. State waiting, right? And C3, C2C, excuse me. So some of them, I really like that it like tells you when something is unused and stuff like that. I really like that. This is actually kind of cool. Right, and output, hello. Yeah, it works like a normal enumeration. I really like that. Really like that. So far, 2 pluses for me is just like using type in front of the type name and normal enumerations, normal human enumerations. Normal human enumerations, I really appreciate that. I really like that. Anyways, so does it have any error handling or anything like that? Probably, yeah. It probably doesn't have any error handling. So the thing that I like in C3 is probably error handling. I don't know if C2 has a similar error handling. Right, does it have a similar error handling? I don't see anything. Yeah, I think it is just like doesn't have anything. To be fair, error handling in C3 is goated. I really fucking like it. It's probably like a similar to whatever Zig and Odin does. I don't remember what Zig and Odin does in terms of the error handling, but I feel like it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to that. So anyways, yeah, so we have a renderer and stuff like that. So the time has come to organize the event loop, right? So let's do quit foils while not quit. We need to drain the event queue, right? So we need to allocate the event structure or something like that. Yeah, so type event. Look at that. Look how easy it is to find the definition of a goddamn type. Like, why it is not obvious that this is what you want to do in the language? I don't understand. Like, it's so fucking obvious that's what you want to do. Anyways, so type event. One more time. So it's immersion, and I don't give a fuck whether it's union or structure or anything like that. In Haskell, you have to use type, you have to use data. It's in Haskell, it's also a mess. All right, so what we're doing here is, I suppose we just do SDL event, and there we go. We just allocated event here. So how do we do event? SDL, something about event. I think it's a poll event. Yeah. Oh, and it's a method of the event. Holy shit. So you allocate the event and you just poll it and you accept it as a so while you have some events, then you can do if that event, I suppose it has to be type, was SDL quit, right? And I don't know if it's yeah, so it has to be type event type, and here is the quit. So since the type of the underscore type is the event type, does it mean I don't have to prefix it with anything? Does it mean I can just do something like that? That would have been kind of cool. Right, so and in here I want to just do quit equal true. Right, that should be enough for everybody. Okay, so let's try to build this entire thing. Okay. No member type underscore. What is type underscore? I think I fucked up the order. I think I did a fucky wacky. Okay, so do I have to, can I just prefix it with SDL? Okay, so do I have to also specify event type quit? I really like this cool thing in SDL3 where it can just infer this entire prefix. You can just do equal quit. Right, so by just looking at the type of the, it doesn't even know the type. That's the problem. Okay, so that's probably why it couldn't infer that. So dot quit just like in Java. Yeah, I think it wouldn't even work even if it supported that. I think it wouldn't work. But we can actually just try that locally. Let's just try that locally. So let me try to compile, make it compilable. Right. Oh, it's also render flags. I didn't notice. I also didn't notice that. Okay, so it's a render flags. Okay, so that seems to be working. Okay. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What I wanted to create the enumeration. So type foo enum, and here we're gonna have I don't know, things foo bar buzz, and then so let me try to compile it. Does it support expected enum type? Oh, it forces you to have underlying type of the enum. Okay, that's based. I think C3 also does that, but I don't quite remember. Okay, so if I do things T, can I just do 4? It forces you to prefix it. This is a downside. This is a straight up downside. Can anybody make C2.5 where where they could just combine the best things from C2 and C3? It's just somewhere in the middle. Can you? I swear to God, somebody must make C2.5. Like, you can with. Oh, the plugins are powerful enough to just add some things. So C2.5 should be. Anyways. Okay, what do we have? So let's try to run whatever we got. Let's try to run. And, oh, okay, so here's the window. Yeah. And I can even close it. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty poggers. So the thing we probably need to do, we need to now clear the this stuff, right? So set draw, set render, draw color, right? So that's the method we need in here. So I'm gonna just do it like that. So we already have a renderer, and now we can specify the color in here. So I'm thinking about my favorite color, like this, and this one is gonna be FF, right? So we set draw color. Clear, I think it's a render clear. I forgot how it's called, clear. Yeah, render clear. So we can do render clear, renderer, and then we have present, right? So it's a renderer present, like so. And now I can probably combine the present. There we go. So here's the window. Here's the window. We can change the colors if we don't like this one, so we can make it red. Yeah, so here's the red color. That's pretty cool. So, but I'm gonna go with this one. So, so far so good. I kind of like it. So it's pretty convenient. The fact that you have to do that within some sort of an environment is a little bit annoying, right? So, but maybe you can put that into the Bash or C or whatever. So will be C, what would be C0? I think there was also a language before C which is called B. Did you hear about that? Before C there was a language literally called B, and it was kind of like a. I think it was kind of like C where everything was integer. What about A? I don't really know about that. Was there A? Maybe there was. But anyway. So, what's going to be the next thing? We need to draw a rectangle. How about we draw some rectangles, chat? I think the time has come. The time has come to draw some rectangles. So, where do we have a rectangle? Type rect. Yeah. So, rect. Chat, do you feel wrecked? Chat, do you feel wrecked? Okay, so let's maybe locate it somewhere at the left top corner, right? So, and maybe it's gonna be 100 by 100, right? So, and I suppose I also have to query replace this stuff with that. So, and in here, we're going to take a pointer, and I think that should be it. So, expected expression. Are you telling me that you do not support designated initializers? So probably without dots, maybe. But I mean, it's in C with dots, though. Right, so... Do I have to do some scheisse like this? No last comma? Are you serious? No, it just doesn't recognize that. Struct types. Okay. I think it just doesn't support them. It's over, right? So like I don't like that. That's really bad. That's really bad. Doesn't look like it. Like I don't see any stuff. Honestly, in 2024, this kind of stuff is a must-have. It's must-have. I don't see it. So it's written in itself, right? So it is written in itself. We can actually take a look inside of the compiler. C2 compiler, and where is the compiler? So compiler. It's actually kind of cool that it's written in itself, honestly. So we have type, which is a struct. So that means, for example, options. Do we instantiate options anywhere? I don't really know where I can look into. Oh, look at that. This kind of shit is supported. Right. So if I just try to do something like this. What is a compiler and where is it defined? It is a structure. No semicolon? Really? Is that what happened there? Like the language is unfinished. Ghost in the compiler. Well, I mean, can I now use designated initializers? Something like this. I can. Okay. Okay. So well, that doesn't work because I need to set the colors. So probably. Bro, this is so fucking funny. Usual trope is that where do I put semicolon? Now it's completely reversed. Where do I have to remove semicolon? Holy shit. This is innovative. This is revolutionary, in my opinion, right? Before, we had to put the semicolon somewhere. We didn't fucking know where until we got a better compilers. Now it's the opposite. You don't know where, but you have to remove the semicolon. Good fucking luck! So what's funny is that like it allows, you know, trading commas and stuff. So anyway, so here I suppose what we have to do is just like feel wrecked. Chat. Do you feel wrecked? Okay, there we go. So we feel wrecked. Finally, we feel wrecked. Does it support like vector types and shit like that? So does it support vector types? Probably not. Probably not. So one of the killer feature for me in C3 was the vector types and shit. So let's actually see. So I'm gonna assume that, yeah, I don't see any vector types. So if I want to make this entire thing move, I suppose I have to just keep track of all that myself. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. So we can always do something like this. By the way, I wonder, what if I just literally put X and Y in here? I mean, so I probably want to do something like this. Unknown type float. Okay. So I'm gonna just try to assume that it may be something like float32. Okay. And it actually warns you about converting, implicit conversion, floating point to, you know, to I32. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I really appreciate that. So we can do something like I32 in here, like so, boom. So that's a little bit better. It's Yeah, I'm being a dummy dum-dum. I apologize for being a little bit of a dummy dum-dum. Oh shit! Here we go again! How? Okay, cost. Cost. Are you fucking shitting me? What is this C++ery? Okay. Fair. So, maybe we can introduce something like dx and dy, 100 by 100. So, in here, I suppose what we want to do is just do x multiplied by dx multiplied by delta time. And let's query replace x, y, like so. Okay. So, and what else do I want? So I want to be able to do dt, but this is SDL. I can't just get the dt. The thing we can do, we can just like hardcode dt by saying that it's going to be 1 divided by fps. And I wonder, how do you define constants in here? So can I just say that fps is going to be 60, right? Is that something that I can do? Okay, you don't support fs? Even no sassy message? It didn't even provide sassy massive message. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like in Jai, there is a sassy message about that. I really like it actually. So if you try to define, I think, something like this, all right, it will give you sassy massive message. Just a second, guys. So bin Jai Linux, mine Jai, yeah. Wait, fuck, I forgot this thing. So in this language, we don't suffix our float constants with f. You have to read that in your head with Jonathan Blow's voice. Like, you literally have to read that with his voice. Like, I really fucking like that. I absolutely love it. So one of the reasons to use like Jai compiler is just it's filled with these sassy messages. It's so good. I love it. It's like using Jai is a whole freaking experience, I'm telling you. It's a whole freaking experience, including error messages and also exploring the standard library, right? So there's a lot of comments left in there. It's like playing a game. You can actually feel that the language was made by the game designer, actually, because he thinks a lot about the experience like that. I really like that. So yeah, it didn't even leave a sassy massive message, and it's just kind of meh. So what do we have in here? Oh, and it just like, but my implicit conversion. So you were talking about implicitly converting floats to integers, but here integers to floats are fine, I suppose. So you telling me if I do something like t69 and then cast I32 like this, it's going to work. I guess it's fair, right? So converting integers to floats is something that you usually want it to happen, right? So it's fine. I think even C3 does it like that. Anyways, so in here, so here's the delta time, and we might as well also sleep for the duration of delta time. This is a very bad way of locking FPS. Please don't do that at home. I'm doing that because like I just want to quickly hack something. Right, but essentially we have delta time, and here we're gonna delay for the duration of delta time, right? So I think it has something like sleep or delay. So SDL, so delay or sleep. What was that? Does anybody remember? Delay. I swear to God, there was a delay function of SDL. SDL2 grep SDL delay. Are you telling me, Brovsky? Yeah. Where is it? How are you supposed to write a game without delay? Do the creators of this language even use this module, or did they add it just like for the check mark or something? Seriously? Declared? Well, I mean, that's what I have to do. I mean, but I'm just asking, generally. So I can even put it somewhere here. So create a window, right? So this is how we create a window. And in here, I suppose what we can do is just something like fn void delay, and we can just do u32ms, all right? And then I can say this is an external name, and we're kind of slowly also learning how to declare external names and shit, which is super cool. I really like that. So here is the delay. And yeah, delay. So I'm gonna use delta time, but delta time is in seconds, so I need to multiply it by 1000, right? So I multiply it by 1000, and then I have to clamp it to integer, right? So cast u32, cast u32. All right, so, and SDL has no symbols. I think I have to, what I have to do is, where's my delay? Declare it as public, right? But it didn't work that easily. So did I forget to save something? This is because it's, I'm already a little bit tired, I'm sorry. So, okay, let's fucking go. That seems to be working. Okay, so if this is in milliseconds, what the fuck is happening? Can anybody tell me? So this is FPS. We divide 1 by FPS. I might as well actually do something like printf and just take a look at the delta time. F. Oh, by the way, we have an opportunity to check something cool. So the FPS, yeah, FPS looks fine. What if I don't provide enough arguments in here? What if I don't provide enough arguments? Learner! Are you gonna just leave it like that? You gonna just let C2 just... Seriously? This is an unsolved problem for C3 yet, actually. C3 can't do that. Can your C3 do that? Main C3. So let's actually see. It's actually compatible. Import std IO printf. And if I just do something like that, C3 compile run main C3. It checks it at runtime, but this kind of stuff, I believe personally, has to be checked at compile. Though, okay, this is not particularly fair. I think what's happening in here, does it act? No, it doesn't actually. So I was thinking for a second, maybe it's coming from the backend, you know? Maybe it's coming from the backend, the compile time check. But it reports everything appropriately. I don't know, does it depend? What if I set a different backend in here? Lack of at print like, yeah. So in Jai, there is this cool concept, print like, right? So we can even take a look at that. So opt Jai modules, and we can grab this entire thing, print like, not link. Zozin, what the fuck are you talking about? Print like. So, and essentially, it marks all of the functions that behave like print, with printf and formatting and stuff like that. And what's happening is that there is a meta program in a standard library that searches, it actually listens to any of the events in the compiler that finished type checking a thing with this thing, and then at compile time, it does the check whether the format arguments are provided and stuff like that. And this behavior is not baked into the compiler. This is not baked into the compiler. The program that listens for the events of this thing being type checked is a separate program, right? And it actually checks everything. It's not part of the compiler. This is so fucking cool. How Jai just hard codes C++ naming still basis. Honestly, this is such a Chad move. This is a very much Chad move. just fucking hard code them. And for different kind of compilers, you simply can switch case at compile time anyway, so who cares, right? So, I mean, how many standards of mangling there are, right? So there's a mangling introduced by GCC, MSVC, and I think that's it. I think there's only 2 standards for mangling the names in C++. I'm not a C++ guy, so I don't really know anything about that. Jai versus C3, who wins? Jai, obviously. Maybe. So the only thing, the only downside of Jai is that it doesn't exist publicly, right? So that's the only downside of Jai. But to be fair, like, I mean, currently as Jai is, it's fine. But I mean, it's up to John to decide, right? So it's always up to John. So he knows better. John knows better. Regime knows the best. Regime knows the best. So anyways, okay. As many, so there are some downsides in C2, but there's also cool things like compile time check of format arguments. C2 just like does that. It simply does that. So, which is kind of cool, and I really like that. But to be fair, I think in C3 is just like learning right now is focused on something else. Well, that's probably why it is not implemented, because so when we saw me struggling with the format arguments, what he did, he just implemented a quick hack, which is an indication that it's like it's not a priority right now, right? So it's probably going to be implemented in C3 at some point, but it's not a priority. So anyways, so it does actually support that. So we had a problem. So DT is actually working in here. So here is the event. We update X. I see the problem. It has to be actually plus. It doesn't have to be multiply. So okay, that's fair. So let's fucking go. And yeah, obviously we want to get rid of that. We don't even need that anymore, in all fairness, and it seems to be moving. It seems to be working. I also like that it tells me that I have unsupported modules. I think C3 does that as well. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So the question is, how do I link with like another thing, with a Raylib? Right. So that's the real question, because, okay, so we are at the mercy of C2 developers to provide us the libraries that we can use. But what if we have our own libraries? How do I even define my own libraries and stuff like that? So this is the like last thing that I really want to check. I think it's kind of important to evaluate this language, at least for me. Right, so to make a conclusion on this one. So what do we have in the README? So the repository need to both for C++ environment variable should point to this repository so that the C2 compiler can find it. So one thing I see in here is to literally just add Raylib bindings in here. Right, so that's how I see that. We can do that. So let's go ahead and just freaking do that. Raylib. Right, so here's the Raylib. I can open this stuff in here. And I'm supposed to have, I think, a Raylib C2I. Okay, so what do I put in here? I probably put a module, so let me enable C3 mode. Module Raylib. Raylib. Import C2 local. So I can do that as well in here. Okay. So what do I put in the manifest? So language C, type library, link name SDL2, kinds dynamic. All right. So we can create a kind of a similar thing. Manifest YAML. Right. So info. Yeah. Language C, type library. So this is a very bureaucratic, honestly. Link name Raylib. Kinds and only static, I suppose. Right. Dependencies. Okay. So dependencies is that. So we do need libc and libmath. And the modules, I suppose these are the modules that are provided. Right. So these are the modules that are provided. And we can just say we provide Raylib modules. I don't really see anything else in here, right? So I suppose it just searches within the system or something, right? So in C2C, if I take a look at the help, is there a path or search path or anything like that? Maybe manifest has some information about like how to provide search path. I think it could be something about the manifest. But anyway, so here we import SDL. One thing I want to do, let me quickly remove that. Right, we don't need that. We also don't need that. We also don't need that. I want to call this SDL, right? So because I don't want to lose this code. I think it's pretty useful code. So then we're going to have another one in here. So I might copy paste the entry point like so, C3 mode, and module import Raylib. Okay, so what I want to do, I just want to see what's going to happen, right? So I just added like a dummy binding library in there, just a dummy binding library, and let's see what's going to happen if I just try to compile this entire thing. Unknown module Raylib. Okay, so I probably have to do that in a recipe. Yes, Raylib. Very bureaucratic, honestly, very bureaucratic, and a lot of magic, right? So because it's just like up to compiler how to interpret these things, and it's just like you introduce like a second language. Like I don't like that I have to use several languages in a project written in one language, right? A C2 is QBE, it has a QBE backend, right? So we have two backends, QBE and C. So you can take a look at C2 help, right? I think it's a help recipe, and in terms of backend, there is two backends, C or QBE. So you can use either of them. Right now, I think we're using C. QB and backend also works, by the way. You don't have to. Yeah, I think it doesn't even have LLVM dependency. It doesn't use LLVM. Another plus to C2. Honestly, I can't decide which language is better. Honestly, because both of the languages are just bags of opinions, and some of the opinions of C2 intersect with mine. The other opinions intersect, like the other C3 opinions also intersect with mine. So I like some of the opinions of C2 and some of the opinions of C3. Some of the opinions I don't like. So it's kind of difficult for me to actually pick the winner who's better. It's pretty balanced. Yeah, again, we need a hybrid. We need a C2.5. Right, somebody need to make something in between C2 and C3. It's kind of difficult for me to tell, all right? So maybe the time has come for me to make my own language. In all fairness, I already have my own language, Porth, but Porth is more like a joke language. Maybe I just need to continue developing Porth. I want to see Dickstring. I don't know. Is there, you know, string builder in C2? So let's actually see. C2 libs. Does it even have a standard library? It's kind of difficult to tell. So it talks about just a C2 libs. Does it have? I just realized, like, I don't know. Does it have a different library or anything? So std. Where is std.io library defined? std.io. IO. It's not defined here. Well, I mean, I'm doing that incorrectly. Find type file name. Huh. Where is it defined though? Ah, I see. Oh, why didn't I find it then? Did I do that incorrectly? I think I did it incorrectly. Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't really have a standard library on its own. It just uses the bindings to existing libraries. That is fascinating. Look at that. Yeah, it doesn't really have a standard library of its own. Right? All of the libraries are just like these things. Honestly, kind of based, right? So libc is the standard library of C2. Okay, fair enough. So, okay. It's pretty based, not gonna lie. It's pretty based. So what I was doing, I was talking about something, yeah, so a Raylib unknown, we were working with Raylib. So how do I link with Raylib? C2 hello world. If we try to now build the whole thing, so unused import, aha, error during external C compilation, logs. And you have to look at the logs in a separate file. It doesn't print everything to you. Something went wrong, go read logs somewhere. Great user experience. Okay, let's fucking go. That is kind of obvious. That was kind of obvious what is going to happen, right? Cannot find such thing. The question is, where the fuck do I put that? I think that's a fair question. But we can see what kind of library path it is using, which I actually appreciate if you think about that. So let me see. So this is the library path it's looking for, C2 libs Raylib, and it's just looking for thing in here. So what we have to do apparently, C2, third party C2 libs Raylib. So it wants us to create this folder and put libraries in there. So does it build them statically? So does it use the word static anywhere? I don't really see the word static anywhere, but one of the things we can do in here actually is just copy only static library. So the compiler will pick up only the static library. So prob C2 Raylib lib, here is the static library, and I'm gonna put it in there. Honestly, the fact that I can see the exact command lines used in here is absolutely based. I absolutely respect when developers do that, language developers do that. Just show me what your language is doing. I know a lot of language developers are a little bit ashamed, right? That, you know, their language depends on third-party things, right? They want to kind of hide it, right? So because, you know, it feels kind of like incomplete. Oh, wait, you're just a translator to C? No. I think you should not be ashamed of that. I think it is very important to be proud of that and actually show to the user of your language what kind of commands you call in underneath, so when something breaks, they can troubleshoot it. Like here, for instance. I really freaking appreciate that. Yeah, you depend on GCC. Yeah, you depend on QBE. Thank you for showing me exact commands you use. I really fucking appreciate that, so I can fix things. I think this is cool. This is a plus to C2. Straight a plus. Anyways, so C3, maybe C3 also logs somewhere, I don't fucking know, but it's kind of a little bit obscure in that regard. Anyways, so C2, and let's actually just try to go ahead and recompile it. And I just compile. Just fucking compile. So we can take a look at the executable, right? So it doesn't really use anything in there, right? So hello LDD. Well, I mean, we compiled Raylib statically, so we don't expect to do anything in here. So the thing we want to do is probably just import some things. I'm going to use SDL as sort of an example, as sort of an inspiration for this stuff. SDL2. So create a window. How do you create a window? All right. So the main function we have in here is init window, right? Init window. And if I'm not mistaken, we just accept the title, but I'm not 100% sure. So I think, where's the Raylib in here? And I'm going to take a look at Raylib H. Init window, where is it? So first come the width and height. Width, I32 height, and then the title. And in here, this is a fan. And then we specify the external name as cname init window. So what kind of functions we will need in here? We'll need close window as well. Might as well use a little bit of Emacs magic. Close window, like so. This one doesn't accept anything. I wonder if I can put void in here, so we'll see. So then we need to do window should close. Window should close. Come on, should close. Let's try to put boolean in here and void. Window should close. So another thing we need in here is begin drawing and end drawing. Begin drawing and drawing, they are important. They do a lot of event handling. So if you don't call these functions in an event loop, your event loop is gonna get stuck. Right, so it's kind of important to actually call them properly. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to main C2 and I'm gonna just call all these functions, right? Finally, chat, can your C3 do that? Okay. Something that I miss in C3, honestly, like being able to just do that. Like I don't want to prefix it with Raylib. Bro, come on. Anyways, so hello. So Raylib speedrun. Right. So in here, I'm gonna actually close the window. Chat, close the window. Let's take a look at the errors. Okay, so you don't put void in there. Okay, fair enough. I can agree with that. Sure. Just do that. Okay, so output hello. I can see already a block. That's already pretty progress. So while not our window should close, R begin drawing and drawing. All right, and C2C. I'm gonna sneeze. Sweet victory. Raylib speedrun has been achieved. All right, so that's pretty progress. Yeah, I really like that I can just like have a custom prefix in here and stuff like that. It's just look at that. Like imagine if we didn't have this prefix. This is how the code would look like. Are you serious? And you just add the prefix and it just look how much nicer. It like automatically just looks better. And make that thing only local for my file. Make the responsibility of making sure that nothing collides with R my responsibility for my local file. Like I know that I don't have anything R. Just let me do that. Come on. It's like don't force the user to just use long names. Sometimes you can't shorten the name when you ship it. Like I don't want to change the name of the original library just to make it shorter. Like I just don't want to do that. It's disrespect to the library, right? It has to be called Raylib. So I don't know. I don't freaking know. So the thing I'm not really sure how the C2 library works, the environment variable, right? So obviously you put these third-party dependencies into a separate library, into a separate folder, right? And then you point your environment variable to here, right? So the C2 libs. So in C2 compiler, we have an environment thing, right? So libdir. Can I separate this variable with colons? What if I have several of these libraries, folders, I mean? Can I copy, this is actually kind of cool. Can I copy the entirety of these libs into my, yo, bro, this is fucking cool. If you think about that, if you actually think about that, I can just copy my dependencies into my folder. Wait. So prob C2 hello. I can just do say libs. It's kind of similar to the modules folder of Jai. Maybe you can do achieve similar thing in C3. I'm pretty sure you can achieve a similar thing to C3. Right, so I can just copy this thing in here. Right, and I think I don't really need anything else, right? So because I don't use the libc dependencies or anything. Right, so here's, yeah, I don't even use libc. So if I try to compile C2C like that, it will tell me that C2 lib is not defined. But then I can do C2 libdir libs. And it still needs libc. Okay, and what that means, we can actually copy that thing from C2 libs. C2 libs. Third party C2 libs. So let's copy this thing. Okay, so libc, and all of that is in here. And I can just compile math. All right. So Is it separate though? C2 libs. Okay. Copy. I think it all comes from Raylib. It's the Raylib that needs all of them. Okay, so now it wants to like something else in here. So what does it say? So you telling me that it couldn't find. That's really fascinating. So it was actually calling that from. It was probably calling that, yeah, current folder. So current folder is here. Changing to here. So relative folders is probably something that you don't want to use. So in that case, we're gonna just put pwd to sort of bake the current folder in here. Cannot find library. Well, I was probably in the wrong place. Yeah, I was in the wrong place. Just a second. And it works. Yeah, there we go. So I can now actually kind of remove the whole thing in here. Yep. And yeah, I can also remove SDL. But I kind of don't want to remove it because it's kind of a useful code. Yeah, let's actually remove it. So, and then I can git ignore, for example, output. I don't really care about the output. And then I can git init. Well, I just want to git init the whole thing. Right. And I can literally commit the libs, libc in here, math in here, like all of the dependencies in here. I think in C3 it's also kind of possible with their build system. With their build system, it's also kind of possible. But I mean, the interesting thing about C2 is kind of C3 doesn't force you to use its build system. And because of that, I never had a motivation to learn it. C2 might be actually an interesting move. They force you to use their build system. And because of that, you're forced to learn it. And that's exactly what happened. I was kind of forced to learn their system. And I realized that it's not that bad. It's kind of interesting. Maybe there's something like that with C3, right? Maybe C3 build system is also fine. It's just use JSON instead of YAML and instead of this TXT. But again, it never really forced me to learn it, right? So maybe this is something that C3 should do. Just force the user to use it. But at the same time, it can drive away some of the people, like me, for instance, right? So I don't know. It's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult to tell. But yeah. So you just like commit all of that stuff and it's kind of self-contained. The only thing I don't like is the fact that I have to provide environment variable. Can I just provide the libdir folder from here? Or even cooler, can't that folder be standardized? Just standardize this folder. Maybe it is already standardized, right? So, so installation, my first project, just a second. My first project, so there's a recipe. Yeah, so the output, but they don't talk about the separate, yeah, I don't think it's standardized. I don't think it is standardized. We can take a look at the C2C help recipe. Let's take a look at the recipe. And there is config, but there's no information about like what that is. Recipes, recipe file. Config, wait. Is that like a defines like -d? So what does it say about config? Yeah, it doesn't talk about configs. Okay, so before all executable libs, global configs may be specified. These have the same syntax as config inside target. Config is specified definition of the preprocessor like defined feature. Okay, so it's just like a defined feature. Backend. I don't see where you can specify this kind of folder. I wish I could, like this folder was kind of local for my project and it was kind of standardized. I think that would be based. I truly think that would be based. Just standardize it. But maybe it is already. It's kind of difficult for me to see. C2 modules. External libraries. Too much text, honestly. Don't like it. Too much text. All right, I see. Okay, that's an interesting language. That's definitely an interesting language. So, and I suppose that's actually the prequel of C3. I kind of don't know. Right, so I want you to see whether C2 is better than C3, but it's kind of difficult to decide, honestly. It's kind of difficult to decide. Right, so because again, both of the languages are just a bunch of opinions on how to extend C. Right, and I agree with some of the opinions of C2, and some of them I definitely disagree, and some of the opinions of C3 I also agree with them and disagree with others. So whether to choose between C2 and C3, I guess you have to, in that case, you have to look on how active they are. So C3 is more active, so definitely. So maybe C3 is the future, at least for now, unless C2 is going to be developed more actively. But I don't know. Another thing that is kind of bad for C2 is that how difficult it is to set up. Hypothesis is that it is specifically gatekeeping to keep normies away until the language is ready. So you have to prove that you're worthy using this language, right? Because, like, again, if something doesn't work and it doesn't work because of you being stupid, right? We want to make sure that you know what you're doing, right? So here's a little bit of a challenge of bootstrapping the compiler, proof that you know what you're doing, and then you can use the compiler, right? So it's sort of like that. So I don't know. Both of the languages are interesting. So, and learner worked at C2. I don't know what exactly happened that made him fork, or maybe it's not a fork, maybe it's from scratch. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I'll try to use this language a little bit more and see. Maybe I'll do something with it. But for the time being, I think it is time for me to go. That was fun. That was actually fun. So thanks everyone who's watching me right now. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you all on the next recreation programming session with Ahu. I missed Azuzun. So there's so many actually subs recently. So thank you so much, Koster, Ali, David, Datsky, Nayu, Starfree Clone, that Fiber. Thank you so much for all of the subs. I really appreciate it. So yeah, love you. Mwah.